Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name is Zara and today I am going to be doing a review of The Lost Metal by Brandon Sanderson. Everybody and their mum has done a review of this book. This is just my thoughts on it. A lot of people loved it. Good for you. I didn't. So let's just jump in. The Lost Metal picks up, I think it's like a few months, if I remember correctly, after the events of the previous book. It's the final book in this quartet in Mistborn Era 2. Brandon Sanderson for me is an author that I started out really loving, and then as my reading tastes have matured and developed, I started to realise that there are certain things about his writing that I just really dislike. A lot of people will like those things too. So just bear that in mind that I'm not a big Brandon Sanderson fan. I've got a lot of his books. I love Mistborn Era 1. I loved Warbreaker. I really liked Elantris. There's Emperor's Soul is one of my favourite books. Like, there's a lot of his books that I enjoy, but reading this book reminded me or made me realise that there are certain things in his writing that I just detest. And I think I have to be in a very, very, very specific mood to read his books. So when I do eventually pick up Stormlight Archive, I'm just going to have to be very careful about that, because I really want to like that series, because I think there's a lot of things that in theory, especially thematically, I would really enjoy, and I think there's a few characters that I would really love. But let's go back to The Lost Metal. So The Lost Metal, what did I like about it? As an ending to a quartet, I think it does a good job. I think there was some stuff that happened that I didn't expect, and so it made it felt like the stakes were really high, which I always appreciate. I always want it to feel like the consequences could be really bad and could be catastrophic, because otherwise what's the point? Why are we all here? Like, it doesn't really matter, and if no one's going to die or be impacted by the events, like, literally what is the point? I didn't feel like with this book. I was a bit worried that everyone was going to kind of come out safe, nothing was really going to happen, but that's not true. Like, stuff happened that I didn't expect, and I really kind of valued it for that. And I was one moment at the end where I was like, oh my god, that's crazy. But it was good, and it was good for the story development. It was good for the storytelling and for the development of the series as a whole. So kudos to him for doing that, and for like actually like putting in some high stakes at the end of this book. One thing you'll hear a lot of, Brandon Sanderson fans will talk about this, and you should definitely go watch them if you're interested in this, is that there are broader implications for the Cosmere as a whole that get revealed in this book that are quite interesting. I'll be honest with you, I don't really care. Like, I don't care. I'm not, like I said, I'm not that much of a Brandon Sanderson fan that I'm going to be like mind mapping every single reference and thinking about how it affects things in Stormlight or like whatever else he's written. Like, I just don't care. I want a complete story where I feel like bought into the characters, their motivations, I bought into the events that are happening, and that I feel fulfilled by the end of that story. For me, it's interesting. I just don't really care about it. But I think for a lot of people who enjoy Brandon Sanderson, I think you will really enjoy that aspect of this story. In a few discourse, and a lot of people were talking about all these different things, and I was just like, I don't care, so I'm not going to get involved. But like I said, there are people who talk about this and like literally make it a big part of their channel, so you should go like search for that. But for me, meh. Next, characters. There aren't tons of characters that I love in this series, to be honest. Mistborn Era 1 had a really like wide cast of characters that I really enjoyed. Like, I liked a lot of the characters. In this one, I liked Marasi because I think she's just a really good example of like a young woman who's trying to prove herself and trying to make her own mark in a world that doesn't really support that. And by the end of this book, like, I think we get this image of this really strong individual who's had to go up against a lot of really strong characters, but she's come out on top, and I really respect that, and I really identified with her for that reason. I also really like Steris, who is Wax's wife, and their relationship doesn't start off great. They don't want to get married, but then get married, and then they really develop this kind of sense of kinship, and by the end of the book you really see that they love each other, and I was really touched by that. But Steris, for me, I just love the fact that she really developed into her own. She's this very shy, quietly confident individual, and we really see that come through by the end of the book, and I love that for her. I love that she kind of got to have that end to her arc, I guess, or that resolution to her arc. Those were the two that I really stood out for me. I didn't really like, you know, Wax he's pretty average. Wayne I find really annoying. The humor is just not my thing, which I'll come into in a second. There aren't any other kind of side characters that really stood out for me. So Marasi and Starris kind of really take it for me. The pacing was okay. Like, I think it was okay. I think it was way too long. We could have shaved off easily about 150 pages. There were quite a lot of quiet moments, which I think added to the page count, which is stuff that I actually really enjoy. I just don't think he does it well, to be honest. I think there's other authors who do that a lot better. I just wasn't a fan. Those moments are supposed to make you feel more connected to the characters, and I just never really felt like that. And it was kind of disappointing, to be honest. My last criticism was that the humour was just absolutely awful. It was just awful. It's not my humour, in his defence. It's just very kind of slapsticky, silly humour, which on occasion I can get by, I can kind of get on with, but written humour is really hard to do, and I just don't think that type of humour is done well. I don't think that type of humour is good when it's written on a page, to be honest. And it just kind of felt like it just didn't need to be there. It just wasn't good. Like, it's such a weird thing to do, to like criticize someone's humor, because that's someone's humor, but like it just didn't translate onto the page, at least for me. Probably quite a negative review. I felt like a lot of this book was just okay, and then the bits that didn't work for me really did not work for me, so that's why it kind of edged the book to being quite poor. I gave it a 3 stars, which isn't great, to be honest. I think it should be a little bit lower than that. I think it should be like a 2.5 maybe. It was just bang average, erring slightly on the side of like below average. I just didn't really like it. I didn't really get anything from it. Every single book that I read, even the ones that I hate, I generally learn something from it that I didn't like, whether it's about the writing or the technical aspects. This one, I just got nothing from it. Oh, nothing from it. It didn't add anything to my life. Actually subtracted from my life, because it subtracted £20 from my Amazon account. So it actually took from me, and it took my time away, which is the most precious commodity of all. That's it. That's my review. What did you guys think? Did you like it? I know a lot of people love this book, and I'm sure there's going to be some Brandon Sanderson fans who are going to be very passionately defending him, which, good for you, and do it just as long as you do it respectfully, but it wasn't my thing. It's definitely pushed a lot of his other books out for me. I was planning to read Stormlight this year, but that's just not going to happen after reading this book. Like I said, I think I'm going to need to be in a very specific headspace, so I will wait for that, and then I'll start that mammoth series that he's written that I'm actually really looking forward to reading. If you read it, let me know your thoughts. If you liked it as well, like, I'd really love to know your thoughts. If you didn't like it, I'd really love to know your thoughts. Let's take the conversation down below, folks, and see you in the next video. Stay safe, as always. Take care. See you in the next one. Bye.